So over the last couple of days, there's been several update videos posted by IGN that are actually interviews of the developers of Diablo 4, and they're actually bringing us a lot of kind of new news or actually hard, firm facts on how things are going to be. They've done different closed betas and things like that, and they've done a few different alterations to a lot of different things, whether it's re-specs, whether it's the skill tree, and at the end of the video here, there's even a possible release date for Diablo 4, and it's sooner than you might think, so make sure you stick around for that. Now, it seems as though they're pretty much on a schedule of every 2 days releasing another one of these videos, so there might be even more in the future. It's hard to say, but I would almost guess there is. But right now, I'm going to wrap up all of the ones that are out up until this point. So that's 4 different developer interviews and all the different things that they discuss and reveal in these interviews. The very first one, and it could be the most important, was posted about a week ago from the time I'm making this video, and that is simply pretty much this entire video that they posted is that the Diablo franchise is going to be returning to darkness. So it's not going to be as bright and colorful as things like Diablo Immortal and Diablo 3 with the pinks and purple spells floating around looking like a child's game. It's not going to be like that anymore. Hopefully, it's going to be a lot more blood and gore, a lot darker. They stated a lot of different things, whether it's just like the general tone of the game or whether it's literally actually darker down in the dungeons. But they did note that they don't want the game so dark that you can't even see what you're doing. It looks like your character is just splashing around in the dark, just slamming buttons left and right. You will be able to actually see what's going on, but a much darker and grittier feel to the game overall. So next up was a video they posted about 4 days ago, and that is they really wanted to drive home that they wanted everything to be tested from the beginning of the game all the way to the end and through the end game. A lot of times you'll get the bug fixes and all the focus on the actual campaign, and while that is very important, the actual playthrough, actually when you look at Diablo 2, even with Diablo 3, the end game is where thousands and thousands and thousands of hours are actually put. So I think it is very good for them to actually focus on the end game and getting that exactly right, since it's what everyone's going to be doing for a very, very long time. And like I said, overlooking the campaign is not a thing to do, but it is very good that they are putting such a focus on the end game. And the way they worded this, I think, is very important. The campaign is not the end, it is just the beginning. So they did mention this video also, it is not absolutely new news, but they're looking at 3 to 4 seasons per year, and sometimes just to make sure they get everything right, sometimes even if they do say 4 seasons, the next season might be pushed back so they can absolutely nail down the changes that they want to get for that next season. And that is important to note because what they actually want are actually big, important, impactful changes each season, not just one extra item here or maybe one skill's getting balanced and maybe some bug fixes. They want each season to have something to be excited about and something to really draw people back, something new for everybody to try. Now, this video posted 2 days ago was actually a very large one, a lot of great and new information in it. So the first thing they really wanted to drive home is that they wanted each character to have its own feel for gameplay. They don't want every single character to just be standing back, lobbing spells. You know, the barbarian gets right up in there and makes things messy. The rogue's got to come up and attack super quick. You got the sorceress standing back, casting spells, obviously. The necromancer could have his hordes of skeletons and its own unique style of gameplay. They really wanted to emphasize that every single character will have its own distinct gameplay feel. On top of that, they don't just want each character to have its own feel, they want each and every type of build to have its own game style feel. The example they used for this would be the necromancer. Let's say you want to go ahead and have your massive hordes of skeletons go out there and kind of fight for you. You have that type of gameplay style, or perhaps you want them to be more of a spellcaster. Maybe we'll take Diablo 2 Resurrected, for example. You got the Poison Necromancer, you got the Bone Necromancer, you got the Summon Necromancer. Each one of them is a little bit different play style, its own different feel. They want to bring that type of thing to Diablo 4 so that each and every build is going to be unique in its own way. Next up, and this is a very important, very new information, they finally settled on how they want the skill tree to be, and they did mention this is actually their 4th try at it. We can go ahead and take a look at the original. It was actually like a literal tree, but some of the community thought that this was a little bit too straightforward. You just went right up one branch and right over. There wasn't enough customization that people thought that they could get in this type of skill tree. So through different reworks, I'm sure they got information from the different betas and things like that. They settled on this new one where the skills would definitely go through each other. There was a progression from one skill to the next that you had to do, but there's also branches off where you could decide to go left or right. You could decide to take some of these skills and some you didn't have to take. And also, some of the skills would then also synergize. They also did mention it is going to be in an intuitive manner. So it's going to be simple, but with a wide range of choices and a wide variety for the builds. That they kind of sort of took an example from Diablo 2. How you'd have to get points into one skill before you then could put points into the next skill down the tree. So me being a Diablo 2 player, that definitely makes me feel a lot more at ease about at least the skill tree for Diablo 4. Now they did officially announce how respecking in Diablo 4 is going to work, and it's actually gonna cost you. Now in Diablo 2, you get 3 respecs, 1 for each difficulty for completing a certain quest, and then after that, you'd have to go out and farm the essences from specific act bosses, transmute them together, and then you'd get a token of absolution that you then could use for a respec. Now, they can take a long time to get, and in Diablo 2, in order to farm those bosses, you actually have to have a good enough character in order to do it, which can be a struggle. Like if you don't build your character good enough to kill all these act bosses, then you just can't respec. So then you just have to start over. So that's not necessarily going to be the case in Diablo 4. What you have to do is use the actual in-game gold in order to purchase these respecs. And it was also interesting too, they weren't 100% precise on how much it would cost, but you could actually respec individual skills or individual skill points, or you could just wipe your whole tree and start over from fresh. Now, based upon your level, how many skills you got, the price of this is actually going to scale. So as you get further into the game, as you get further into putting more and more and more skill points into that skill tree, it's going to cost you more and more and even more. Now, I can go into the cost for respecking being bad or good or whatever, but we'll save that one for a different video. Just right now, know that the cost of respec at the beginning is going to be cheap, and at the end, it's going to be so expensive that at sometimes you're actually going to want to just create a different character and spend dozens of hours playing through the game and getting leveled up again, rather than getting out to farm all that gold. So now, just today, as recording this video, they actually released another video about the world tier system. Now, apparently there is something like this already in Diablo 3, and there is in Diablo Immortal as well. So as your characters get better and get stronger, as you get more gear, you can upgrade this world tier system, and that'll make the monsters harder, but it'll also make the experience gain more, and you'll have a higher possibility, and actually the literal possibility of finding even better loot. In this video, they didn't mention there's going to be 2 different difficulties available right off the bat. There's going to be one for very casual players. It's going to be super easy. It sounds essentially like it's going to be just a cakewalk through the game. And then there's going to be a harder difficulty. They said for more veteran Diablo players in general. Now, I'm not sure that one is harder than the other. Does that mean that the harder one will have you more opportunity for getting better loot and things like that? Or is it literally the exact same game, just a harder difficulty? Not 100% clear on that yet. But what is 100% clear is this world tier system that you'll get at the end of the game. Essentially, these world tier systems, they're the difficulty that you're playing on, and as you level up these different world tiers, you have a better experience, and you have a better chance of getting more godly loot. Now, as you play in the next higher world tier level, you'll get more experience, you'll level up more, you'll get better skills, and hopefully you'll also find better gear once again. The way that I can view this and kind of give it as an example for Diablo 2 players, it's essentially like normal Nightmare in Hell. You know, in each difficulty, you can't get certain of the best uniques. You have to eventually get to the next higher one in order to find better gear and get more experience and level up more. The world tier system just seems to be a longer, more drawn out version of the difficulties, but placed at the end of the game instead of throughout the game necessarily. So you're not always just going to be able to decide when to go to the next world tier system. As you get higher into these world tiers, there's actually going to be a boss at the end that you will have to conquer in order to move on to the next one. They'll be very difficult, and some of them, I've seen the videos of it, are actually going to be ones that you'll work together with full parties out in the open world in order to take out. So I was shocked to hear, obviously not that long ago, most people know by now, that Diablo 4 is going to be released in 2023. I thought that was going to be pretty quick, especially when we're talking about on Blizzard time. Now, come to find out, it might be even sooner than we all thought. There have been reports and supposedly corroborations with undisclosed sources, but that's kind of the way news works, I guess. April of 2023 is going to be the launch of Diablo 4, according to these rumors. Now, originally this was reported by the Xbox Era podcast, but then the website Windows Central says that they corroborated with their own sources that it is indeed the case that Diablo 4 is targeting April 2023 launch window. They also said that the pre-orders for Diablo 4 will go live sometime in December. I'm going to be honest, this early of a launch, I'm kind of shocked by. These people do say they actually have sources, so take that for what you will. We do have the open beta coming up relatively soon, and I could see them wanting to get the pre-order in before Christmas to hopefully sell a ton pre-order copies. So hopefully you enjoyed this summary and new information. If you did, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe up to the channel so you never miss any of my new updates for Diablo 4 or any of my Diablo 2 Resurrected content. Peace out, fellas, and don't forget, keep slaying.